I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross.
Hello, I'm James Brown, and on behalf of the Eastern Church of Christ located in Toronto, Canada, I'd like to welcome you to our Sunday question and answer edition of Walking Through the Bible, a podcast where we seek to study the Bible and the Bible alone. Please stick around afterwards for information on how you can contact us. But for now, we'll turn you over to Jeremy Dieselkamp for our question of the day.
Thank you, James, and welcome to all of our viewers. Before we get to today's question, I'd like to remind everyone watching that they could submit their own questions to be answered either by commenting on any one of our videos or by emailing them to answerintheword@gmail.com. Obviously, not every question can be answered for this podcast, but if such is the case, we'll either email you back an answer or respond to your comment in the comments section. Today's question is, what happens to us when we die? Death is something that many people fear. Why do people fear death? Because it is largely unknown to us. We know that there was a time when we did not exist, for most celebrate the day of their birth every year. What we are celebrating is the day that we came forth from the womb. In reality, we existed before that because for 9 months we were in our mother's womb, growing to a point where we could survive outside it. However, before our conception, we did not exist. Yes, I know that some religions teach that we existed in other forms before, but that is simply not true, for there is no evidence that this occurred, and because there is no evidence, it is unreasonable to believe this. So once we are born, we grow into a child, then into a teenager, and then into a young adult. Even though it is true that some will die during those stages of life, it is not something that is expected, so it is rarely thought about. However, once we reach the middle of our life, around 40 to 50, we begin to recognize that we will not live forever, but one day die. And to many, this is frightening because we have never experienced physical death and don't know what it will be like. Will we simply cease to exist, or is there some life after death? Does the Bible teach us anything about death? Yes, but it doesn't teach us that much. In Ecclesiastes 12:5-7 we read, "They are afraid also of what is high, and terrors are in the way. The almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails, because man is going to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets, before the silver cord is snapped, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. And the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it." This verse teaches us two things. First, we do not cease to exist after physical death. Yes, our body is lifeless, it returns to the dust of the earth, but our spirit lives on. The second thing we learn is that the spirit returns to God who gave it. God created our spirit and placed it in us while in the womb. Once our spirit leaves our body, it does not roam this earth and haunt houses or visit with spiritualists. It returns to the care of God. The next question people have is, what does God do with our spirit? There are those who believe that people go immediately to heaven or hell upon death. I don't believe that that's what the scriptures teach. In the story of the rich man and Lazarus found in Luke 16:19-31, Jesus taught of a place called Hades, where God places the spirits of everyone who died until the resurrection which occurs on the judgment day. Hades is divided into two places, a place of rest known as Abraham's bosom. This place is for those who righteously obeyed God. The other place is known as torments, a place for those who wickedly disobeyed God. The reason I know that this isn't heaven and hell is because the man in torment still had compassion for his brothers that were on earth. Compassion is an attribute of God, and 2 Thessalonians 1:9 says that hell will be away from the presence of God, meaning that none of his attributes will be there. This is really the only look into what happens after death that the Bible gives us. The rest remains a mystery. Now, I said earlier that reincarnation is unreasonable to believe because there is no evidence for it. This same charge is thrown at Bible believers. How do we answer this charge? Is there any evidence we have that there is life after death? Yes, and it's found in Scripture. In John 11:38-44, Jesus raised a man from the dead. This is something that would be impossible if we cease to exist after death. Moreover, Jesus rose from the dead in John 20:1-28 and appeared to many people. How can I believe this testimony? Because it was tested in the first century by hundreds of people who converted to Christ, and it was found to be true. In John 21:24, John writes, "This is the disciple who is bearing witness about these things, and who has written these things, and we know that his testimony is true." While we don't know everything that happens when we die, or exactly what it will be like, we can know that we will exist because of the trustworthy evidence contained in the Bible. The question is, will you prepare for death by in faith obeying him in baptism, as Acts 22:16 says, or will you continue in disobedience and be eternally lost? The answer to that question is important, for it will affect the eternal destiny of your spirit on the judgment day. Well, I know much more can be said on this topic, but our time is up for now. Please watch this week's sermon titled Hatred Stirs Up Strife, which James will give you instructions on where to find in a moment. And join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow when we will continue our study of Genesis, beginning at Genesis 44, verse 1.
Thank you, Jeremy. And for our viewers, we also thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Should you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or email them to answerintheword@gmail.com. We'll try to respond to you as quickly as we can. We hope you'll also watch today's sermon edition, which can be found on our YouTube channel under the Walking Through the Bible 2018 sermon playlist. Please also join us, Lord's willing, tomorrow when we will be continuing our study of the book of Genesis. Goodbye for now and have a good day.
I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend